Is there a noticeable difference playing Switch 1 games on a Switch 2? Let's find out. So I played majority of my Switch library on my Switch 2, and some games were a little disappointing, some were mid, and others were a little better than I thought. Now, first and foremost, I have to say this. The Switch 2 is still a wonderful device from the moment you pick it up, especially with that big, beautiful screen. I love it. It's for that reason mainly that I bought a Lenovo Legion Go and decided to put down my Steam Deck. So the first game that we're going to look at is going to be New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Now, even though this game is quite old, it still held up pretty well, especially on this new screen display. The game runs smooth, the colors are still vibrant, and it's still enjoyable for many couch co-op nights with friends or loved ones. It just sucks for me because I'm not really a Mario fan, so to replay it more than once isn't likely, but I can understand why some would. So the next game is going to be Pokemon Shield. So I originally played this game on the OLED Switch and the game looked great, but not so much on the Switch 2. And maybe that's because of the bigger screen, the higher resolution, and you're able to see the flaws a lot easier. Just like every Switch game on the Switch 2, it runs smoother and, and loads faster, but that's kind of it. Now don't get me wrong, it's still a great game to play, especially if it's your first time, but this game could definitely benefit from a touch up, and I think it's something that the fans deserve. This is a great game, and I would love to see like an upscaling or HD version, just some type of sharpening or improvements come towards it. So next up is Resident Evil Revelations 2. Now I tried capturing some footage for this game but couldn't because of some software restriction, I'm assuming, on the Nintendo Switch, but this game looks and plays amazing. The visuals have held up, the gameplay is buttery smooth, everything plays well as if the game was just released as like a mid title, but on the Switch 2 it runs well. Let's move on. So next up, Splatoon 2. This was one that really surprised me because I had high hopes for this game. Even though I don't play it anymore, I thought that this game will hold up better visually. Now, of course, when it comes down to controls and how it moves, it has no problem with that. The smoothness, the loading times were still a little bit iffy for the most part, but nonetheless the game still played smooth. It just didn't really look as good. Now on the Switch 1 it had that Mario touch, right? That Mario Kart touch where it was like tailored for the console. But on the Switch 2, like I said about it in a previous game, or like I said about a previous game, pertaining to having a bigger screen, a higher resolution, it's going to show some flaws, and this is what we get here. But nonetheless, it's still a great game, just one that they need to touch up as well. But other than that, it's not really one that I would go back to. Now to my most played game on the Nintendo Switch 1, Xenoverse 2. It's always been a pleasure playing Xenoverse 2 on the Switch, and this feels familiar, right? Someone said that the game now holds at a steady 30 frames per second, which I have no way of proving, but the game still feels good. As far as visuals, I believe that the game looks worse, and let me explain. Now, with the bigger screen, we have the bigger resolution. I keep saying that over, not bigger resolution, but higher resolution. I keep saying that over and over again. I get that the game hasn't been upscaled, or they haven't been given a kit to make the game match, with 1080p or been given an HD version. I understand all of that. All I'm simply saying is that the game doesn't support its current upgrades for the system. So it's going to look like that. All I'm doing is basically reviewing from my perspective and what it is that I see. Like I said, great game. I clocked many of hours, hundreds of hours into Xenoverse 2 on the Nintendo Switch 1 because it was portable. Took it everywhere I went, work, vacations, this, that, and the other. Definitely got it in. So I love this game. It's not a bash for it. I'm just simply giving my experience and perspective on it. So following Xenoverse 2 is going to be Mario Wonder. Now I remember playing this game on a Switch 1. My wife and I played together. It was enjoyable then, just as enjoyable as it is this time around on the Switch 2. Now to be honest, it's not as vibrant as the new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is, but it does run smoother. But given the fact that it came out at a later date, it makes sense. This game looks impressive on a Switch and pretty much looks the same on the Switch 2. The only noticeable difference will mainly be in like the loading times. Other than that, it pretty much plays the same, but still definitely a good game for the Switch 2 for sure. So last but not least is Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition. And honestly, there's nothing special about this game, primarily because it's an old game, so the Switch had no problem running the game perfectly. And the same could be said about the Switch too. Now, if you're a Devil May Cry fan or a Virgil fan like I am, this is the reason why I had to buy Devil May Cry 3 twice, because I had to get the special edition because Virgil now became playable, and that's my guy. I love his whole addition to the series. Like, he's just boss all the way around, but that's neither here nor there. Devil May Cry 3 special edition is definitely worth a look, and you can normally find it on sale in the eShop for like $10. So if you can catch it on sale, I think it's something that's worth checking out. So next up is going to be Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. And I've kind of already done like a first impressions video on this on my channel. So you guys are more than welcome to go back to the channel and check it out. But I'll leave a link down in the description below so you guys can go ahead and click on it and get my first impressions. Now I decided to play this game again and go a little bit further with it. And my thoughts are still pretty much the same. If you have another device that you can play Kakarot on, I would strongly suggest that because it looks better. It's going to run in higher frames per second than what it's going to run on the Switch 2 or on the Switch 1 until they put the HD upgrade on here. Then I think it'll definitely be worthy of playing on the Switch 2. But because of the bigger screen and resolution, once again, it kind of looks distorted. So even though it's a little bit brighter and more vibrant, it still doesn't look sharper, right? And that's something that kind of bothers me. So if I'm playing Kakarot, I want to play it the best way that I possibly can. And I don't think that the Switch 2 is something that offers that. It just doesn't feel as smooth as it feels on other devices. And that's something I just can't get past. But if this is the only device that you have to play Kakarot on, I definitely say go for it. It's going to be more than playable and enjoyable if this is the only thing that you have. So we finally made it to our final game, Fortnite. This is a game that constantly stayed updated on the Switch for as long as I've had the Switch 1, the OLED, even going to the Switch 2. Once you load it up, I got one word for you: beautiful. The Simpsons themed cel shaded graphics really shine on the Switch 2. I was expecting lag, stutter, frame drops, even though I can't really tell, but I know how it stutters. That's what it's doing. But just smooth gameplay is all I was rewarded with no membership required to play Fortnite and many different game modes available. Is definitely a keeper for the Switch 2. The game runs well, it looks good, and I mean it's Fortnite, right? It's optimized to run on multiple devices, and the Switch 2 is one where it performs extremely well. So that brings us to the conclusion of this video. So when I started off, I asked the question: was there a noticeable difference playing Switch 1 games on the Nintendo Switch 2? And for the most part, it really isn't. Unless there's the upgrade package where you get, you know, the high definition, 60 frames per second, 4K and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not talking about those, and I'm not reviewing those. I have Scarlet and Violet, and those games run amazingly well on the Switch 2. I absolutely loved playing Violet on the Switch 2. And to be honest, that's the reason why I bought it. But going back to just the games that haven't been optimized for the Switch 2, if you have a Switch 1, I don't think that there's an urgency to really run out and buy a Switch 2 because you're not really getting that much of a boost in performance, in my personal opinion. In the comment section below, if you a Switch head or the Switch is your main console and you've played your games and you notice a difference from 1 to 2, then drop it down below and let me know what that is. Let other people know what games actually do perform better and, you know, and this, that, and the other. Just from my experience, I just wouldn't waste $450 to $500 going out getting the Switch 2 to just get a slightly better performance for games that isn't optimized for that device. That's my personal opinion. So with that being said, if you found this video helpful, then consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this and hit that like button. And as always, I appreciate you guys checking out the video. It's your boy, oh no, not another reviewer, and I'm out.